go Rays.
Connor O'Gara is with us now, Saturday Down South. So obviously he doesn't follow baseball because he's got on a Rays shirt, but he follows college football. What's up, Connor? How are you?
Gentlemen, doing well. I wore this shirt strictly for Jim.
Yeah,
wow.
100%.
Yeah,
like
100%.
that was, I made this wardrobe decision about, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, roughly. And I decided, you know what? If anybody could use a little Tampa pick-me-up today, I know times have been good for you in the last couple years, but I thought this might bring your spirits up a little bit and make you think of some nicer, simpler times.
Yeah, all of our trophies are out of Tampa now, except for the Lightning, still two-time reigning Stanley Cup champion. So hanging in there. We're hanging in there. Not a bad city.
Connor is on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. We got a lot to talk to you about. I do want to start with your thoughts on Jermaine Burton. It's still kind of a fresh story here. And as you write at Saturday Down South, great pickup for Alabama, but not Jameson Williams.
Yeah, that's just, to me, a bit too high of a bar to set for him. Let's put some perspective into what Jameson Williams just did. It's the third best season we've ever seen from an Alabama receiver. It's behind 2020 Devontae Smith. It's behind 2014 Amari Cooper. Every other statistical measure, anything you want to look at, talent around him, I think Jameson Williams, that year that he just had, it really holds up well. And I think to expect someone who is coming into this situation with 2 years of experience as a starter like Jermaine Burton, I think the expectations of him should be different. He's had opportunity. It's not a situation like Jameson Williams, who was sitting behind the likes of Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba at Ohio State. We saw Jermaine Burton have plenty of reps at Georgia this year where they were really depleted at the pass catcher positions. I mean, Ladd McConkey is out there, for crying out loud, catching passes for him. So, I don't necessarily think that all of a sudden Jermaine Burton is going to skyrocket and triple his production and do kind of what Jameson Williams did. Having said that, it's a great pickup. And if I'm looking at this from Jermaine Burton's perspective, I'm like, all right, do I want to come into my pre-draft season with Bryce Young or Stetson Bennett? That's pretty much where this conversation goes. And I think that's ultimately why Alabama, it made sense for both parties to make that move.
The interesting thing, though, Burton has a much bigger name going into fall camp than Jameson Williams had. Williams had the 9 grabs last year in Columbus. And outside of Kenneth Walker, those guys were difference makers. Is there another Jameson Williams or Kenneth Walker coming out of this portal this year?
Yeah, that's as of right now, probably not. And let's not forget, Jameson Williams wasn't even in the portal until after spring. So that's kind of the thing that I come back to is, we might see some of these battles play out and we're going to see somebody break through and kind of be that guy. But as I'm looking at it right now, there's nobody that quite makes me think of a situation where it is about opportunity. That was the case with Jameson Williams. That was the case with Wan'Dale Robinson, who all he did in his 1 year at Kentucky, getting to be a full-time receiver, goes in there and sets program records. And that was about opportunity and the position that he was being put in. So I think we're going to kind of have to wait and see how some of this plays out. There's not really anybody specifically in the portal. Tavion Robinson, a kid from Virginia Tech who's now going to Kentucky, he was their leading receiver last year, is interesting. But there's not really that one person I look at and I say, oh, yeah, they're definitely going to be a difference maker, All-American as a skill player next year.
We may see a Georgia quarterback with 5 stars in the portal at some point. That seems to be a Georgia thing to do. What was your take on the reaction when Stetson Bennett officially said he was coming back next year? Because there were some Georgia people that live in our area that was instantly saying, oh, no, we're going to lose some great quarterback because Stetson is coming back. Should he have ridden off into the sunset, or do you agree with him coming back?
I don't hate the decision to come back. Dude wants to keep playing football and he sees the writing on the wall. His NFL future, it's a long shot at this point. That's putting it kindly, I think. And so now I think the reaction was predictable. I mean, if you followed what Georgia fans have said all year, even into the fourth quarter of the national championship, everybody was under the impression that Stetson Bennett wasn't going to be the guy to win them a national championship, and you were putting your faith in Kirby. And so now you look at this situation and you say, all right, well, what's he going to do without an all-generation defense to be able to play with? Because we expect Georgia to take a little bit of a step back on that side of the ball. And I think he's improved greatly, and I fully believe that he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. But, from Georgia's fan perspective, they have watched 3 5-star quarterbacks leave. Georgia has had more 5-star quarterbacks come into their program than any program in college football in the playoff era. And they watched 3 of those dudes leave, 2 of which became draft picks in the first 4 rounds. Georgia hasn't had a quarterback drafted in the first 4 rounds since Matt Stafford 2009. Like, that's why this is so frustrating. And if that angst had continued with the 1980 jokes still going on, with Stetson Bennett as your starting quarterback, while you look around to the rest of the college football landscape and you see everybody working with these 5-star quarterbacks, yeah, that frustration would have been at a different kind of level. So I get why there's some angst and why it's difficult to see these guys leave, and why it could be difficult for Georgia fans to have to come to grips with JT Daniels going elsewhere and maybe having an NFL future.
Connor O'Gara is with us. He is on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. You can read him at Saturday Down South. He's the senior national columnist there. Also Saturday Tradition, SaturdayDownSouth.com, SaturdayTradition.com, also on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. You also write about Alabama being the preseason number 1 and what that has meant for the Crimson Tide. There are 61 Associated Press first place votes. I don't know how many coaches votes there are. 62. Yeah, too many. 62. How many of those does Alabama get?
You know, they should get 61. I mean, like, let's call it what it is. Like, they should get 61. They return the best 2 players in college football. I'm going to say that because people like to go against the grain a little bit, that it's not going to happen. Let's keep in mind, they're going to get north of 50, but I don't think it's quite 61. 2015 Ohio State is the only unanimous preseason number 1 in AP poll history, which dates back to 1936. I mean, that's how indecisive we are about these things. And we have an 8-month offseason in college football to kind of talk ourselves into and out of things. That 2015 Ohio State team, I mean, was just so loaded coming back with all the guys that they had that it made a lot of sense. They were considered by many a year too early. And when they beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, it was a big time surprise. But I still look at this situation and say, if you're not putting Alabama as your number 1 team in the country, you're just doing so to be different. And I think that Alabama now has to answer the question, how do you handle those expectations? It's kind of not really, like, people don't really talk about the fact that in the last 15 years, the preseason number 1 team in the AP poll has only won 1 national title. And that was 2017 Alabama. Like, that's it. And a team that many people didn't even feel deserved to be in the playoff, and a team that didn't win its own division, didn't win its own conference, of course. So it's really difficult to hear that noise the entire offseason as the overwhelming favorite, and then to go into a season and be able to get it done over the course of 4 months. And now it looks like 2022 Alabama is going to have to face that challenge.
Yeah, more than likely Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, and then maybe Georgia 3, your defending national champions. You also wrote last week on why Georgia needs to make Kirby Smart the highest paid coach in America. I agree with you because we've got a stake bet, and I've got something at stake on why he should be the highest paid coach in America. When do you think we're going to get details on a new contract from Kirby, and ultimately, how much do you think he's going to make per year?
I mean, knowing the Jimmy Sexton way, I'd be surprised if this were announced in the next week. I'll just say that. I think that they're going to try and make this thing really count, because let's also not forget, Kirby's not one of those guys who has gone back to the negotiation table year after year and said, oh, hey, another top 7 finish, got to pay me more money. His last raise came after Georgia lost the national championship at the end of the 2017 season. And so I was talking to Mike Griffith about this before the playoff. And one of the things that he reminded me of was, you know, Kirby's got like a $20 to $30 million stake with these college football playoffs. And I looked at that situation. I said, oh man, like, you're absolutely right. Because if you look at the way that the market has shifted now with guys like Mel Tucker, James Franklin getting these guaranteed contracts, the deal that Lincoln Riley has, I mean, how can you not look at Kirby Smart and not have more faith in him in the future than Lincoln Riley? I mean, he beat Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley has as many playoff victories as you and me, you 3 combined. So I look at that situation. I say, you know what? Pay the man his money, to borrow a phrase from the great movie Rounders. And I say, give that guy everything that he's worth, because he has done so much for that program. And now is the time in which I think Josh Brooks, the AD, and Jimmy Sexton sit down at the table and they say, all right, we're going to make you our guy for life, and we're not going to mess this thing up.
You read Connor's stuff all the time at Saturday Down South, usually linked from our morning rounds from our website here. One of the stories you did recently was the 9 out-of-conference games that you were most looking forward to in the Southeastern Conference. And we did a name, image, and likeness with Bo Nix, so we're all excited for him coming back to SEC country, Oregon and Georgia. If I take Oregon and Georgia off the table, give me one of those out-of-conference games you wrote about that you're most looking forward to this year involving an SEC team.
It's really tempting to go off the radar with like Arkansas, BYU, because that's like a sneaky good game in the middle of October. I'm
That
not
is
gonna
good.
quite do that, but I'll go with Bama, Texas, because Bama's playing a non-conference road game for the first time in over a decade since they went up to Penn State when a certain Joe Paterno was coaching in his last season there in Happy Valley. And I look at that situation now, and you just got storylines galore. I mean, with Sark, with Jaleel Billingsley now, we're of course going to get all of these stories that are going to revisit the Saban to Texas rumors. I mean, it's just loaded with storylines. And on top of the fact that you got 3 of the Heisman Trophy favorites playing in that football game with Bijan Robinson as well, with Will Anderson, Bryce Young. So I just look at a game like that, and it's kind of cool to see Alabama in some of these unique type of venues. And that's what we're going to see really in the next decade or so, is teams committing to these home and homes. I love a good neutral site game, and I think Georgia and Oregon is going to have all of that juice, and I'm so excited for that one. But at the same time, home and homes in college football are just kind of where the money's at, and I think it's where the sport is heading right now.
For those watching us, not just listening, over Connor's right shoulder is a fantastic The Office sign. The best character from The Office is who, Connor?
Michael's got to be the answer. If you get past season 1 with Michael, you get past the cringe with who he is, the receding hairline, the most cringe character maybe in the history of television. If you can get past that, Michael after season 1 is excellent. He's phenomenal. Now, if you're talking most efficient, Creed Bratton's got to be up there.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. He's on any Mount Rushmore of Office characters. Kelly Kapoor, I think when she goes away in season 9, her absence is really missed, not only as a writer, but as a character. But yeah, Michael makes the thing go. When they brought Robert California back, or when they brought him on for season 8, a little piece of me died.
Go follow Connor on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. Read him at Saturday Down South and Saturday Tradition. Connor, thank you so much for the time. Great talking with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, take care, Connor, with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.